Okay, let's get started. So today, what we're gonna do is present the word. First, I'm gonna show you the results. And when your team show up, you should come forward and collect your prize. Okay? And hello, can you hear me? Okay, so what we did is we run all your submissions on Georgia server. So making sure we use the same hardware of evaluating your code. And TAs have posted the results because these are not sensitive results. These are not your score, your grade. As I explained, it doesn't affect your grade either positively or negatively. Even if you do an excellent job, I'm not going to give you even one more point for this course. Even if you do a so bad job, I'm not going to deduct 1 point from you either. So that said, it's not sensitive. That's why TA have posted the results in the class forum so that everybody can see what the results are. And if you have a dispute, as far as I know, I haven't heard any dispute from TA, so I will take that as the results and give up the gift card based on that. My original plan was to have one first prize and one second prize. The first prize is $50, the second prize is $25. Given the results, I see 4 teams. The first one clearly stands out. If you see the result, you will agree with me on that. But the others, and there's a clear second. But then the third and fourth place are fairly close to the second place. So, you know, to recognize that really good effort, I expand the pool of the prize. So I'm giving out 4 prizes today. One first place, $50. One second place, $30, and 2 third place, each $20. So that I'm making even numbers so that it's easy for you to split the money with your teammate. Okay, it's a really small amount of money. Doesn't mean much, but it's my. I want to show a gesture of my appreciation of the effort you put into implementing the kernel, and I'd like you feel proud about the work you have done. Okay, that being said, first place, Thomas Greger, and he's by himself, and he's not here today. He sent me an email before the class. He's a big data certificate student, so he's working full time, so he's unable to attend today's class. I assume he's watching the live stream, so these are the results of his submission. By the way, the way we did is to make sure we minimize the possible variation we may have at a particular time running your submission. We run each submission 3 times. For each query, we run your submission 3 times, and we take the average. So these are the results of this submission. So the average for each query is at the bottom, and that's the total. We look at the total running time to set a winner. This submission actually beats my implementation. Right? This submission beats my implementation. My implementation is about right above 3 seconds total, and he's almost just barely 3 seconds. So his implementation is better than mine. So that's $50 gift card right there. Okay. So I will give to him when he comes to campus. Let's contact the winner. Second place is Xuan Li and Han Han. And these are the results. Yeah, please come forward. Yeah. Is Han Han coming today? He's not. Okay. And let's cover the team, and that's $30 gift card.
So now she can say there was no prize.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, but everything is recorded, right? So these are the results of her team, and as you can tell, it's very good, but there is a clear gap between the first and second place. But it's still very, very good effort. Okay, very good effort. Now coming to the third place, we have 2 teams that are really close to the second place. As you remember this number, 3.94 seconds, right? So the third place, we have 2 teams, 4.05 and 4.1. So I decided to give them a prize as well, and I consider them at the top. Literally, that's a tie. So the first team is Mike and Clint. Are you here? Mike and Clint? Okay, fantastic. Please come forward. Okay, thank you. Congratulations. It's a small token, but shows my appreciation for your hard work. Okay, you deserve it. Okay, thank you. Well done. Okay, $20 gift card. Okay. Now another third place team is Party, and okay, I will do my best effort here. Pranav. That's close enough. Okay, Party and Pranav. Okay, please come forward. Congratulations. Okay, well done. Thank you so much. Okay, all right. So I designed the gift card myself. I put a small database on it with tune on it, meaning you are tuning it. And I put the course title over it. And then inside I wrote a small message. Basically, congrats for winning the first, second, third place in CS6530 DB kernel implementation for the query evaluation conference. Okay? So I think I can put this on your CV, and I will be proud to be referenced down the road if you need any reference. You can put me name for it. Okay, put my name for it. Okay. All right. I think that's summarize the context. Let's congratulate all the winners again. And regardless of whether you win a prize or not, I think all of you in this class have put a really, really good effort, because I can tell that from the score you get from your lab 3. Even though some of you submissions fail at running query 2 or 3, but despite that, you still get really good score for your lab 3, because for the reason I explained, the content doesn't tie with the credit you get for your lab 3. And from what I can tell, most of you get like 80, 90, or 100. On your lab 3 submission. That's really, really good effort. I really feel proud of this class. It's not an easy project, but all of you are doing great. And as we discussed, project, now we're doing project lab 5, will be 60% of your credit, which means most of you will get a really nice share over there, because most of you are doing really well on the project front. So I think this is an excellent class. I really feel excited being here and picking up this prize and leading the effort of implementing data. Okay? That being said, what we're going to do today is to, once you have this, please claim this right away, because there's a code inside. You can use this code on Amazon and claim the code for security reasons, because this, I don't want this to be unclaimed for extended period, then somehow the code got leaked. Somebody else claimed the code, then If they treat us, give us a price, but there's no nothing there. Okay, so go claim this right away. Then you guys can split the money anyhow. All right, so what we're gonna do today is I will spend about 10-15 minutes going through the crash recovery example that I didn't have time to do towards the end of last lecture. And I did cover all the algorithm or procedures per se needed for crash recovery, but I didn't get time to cover the running example for you, so I will do that today. Then with that, we conclude the discussion of this class, meaning whatever needed for the final test. Then I will start something new that's not needed for the final test. You just need to pay attention to and try to pick up as much as you can, but with the understanding it's not going to be part of the final test. What I specifically will cover is I will have a little bit of discussion on data warehouse, and then I will proceed to Spark and MapReduce, and then I will proceed with NoSQL systems. Then if time allows, I will talk a little bit about column store and in-memory database systems. Those are, in my opinion, hot topics nowadays. And we have 4 lectures left. Unfortunately, we will not be able to do the Tuesday lecture. I will be in Hong Kong for defense. So I'm flying out Friday, and I will come back on Tuesday, so we will be missing the Tuesday lecture, but we will have the other 3 lectures, today, Thursday, and next Thursday. So those are the 3 lectures I have. I haven't posted the slides for the content I will be covering next, but I will post them after today's lecture. The slides are ready, I will post them after today's lecture. Okay. So let's look at the crash recovery example. I will just use the PDF slide there for this part of the discussion. So let's go over the example together, okay? So here is an example of database log, and keep in mind what we have. We have database table and transaction table. These are in memory. And you maintain them over time. And then you also have the log, which is right here. And there is something called flush LSN. Whatever before that are guaranteed to be saved on disk. Okay? And there might be some additional log record here that's not been pushed to disk yet. So if system crashes right now, you lose these guys forever. And we're assuming Red Hat logging. Red Hat logging basically says 2 things. One is when transaction completes, you last LSN must be what? Must be less equal than this, right? Right? You follow this, right? You can only commit when the last log record from that transaction has been pushed to disk. What this means is all the log records associated with this transaction have been pushed to disk. And then that's an indication it's safe to commit. Because at this point, if system crash, or for whatever reason, other transaction abort or whatever, I have all the information I need to redo the updates made by this transaction. Satisfying, this is really to satisfy durability in the so-called ACID property of transaction. Because with this, you can guarantee durability already. Isolation is guaranteed by concurrency control. We talk about two-phase locking. We talk about two variants of two-phase locking, straight and non-straight two-phase locking. But keep in mind, there are many other concurrency control schemes that I simply don't have time to cover. But locking-based concurrency control scheme is the most widely used concurrency control schemes to guarantee isolation. Okay. The other requirement is really to ensure atomicity. A stands for atomic. Atomicity is really in other words, you need to make sure you can undo. This basically means you need to be able to really, if needed, this atomicity means you need to be able to undo if needed. So what's that requirement? Can someone tell me? What's the second requirement for red hat logging to guarantee atomicity so that you can do undo? What's that condition? Right? What's that condition? Page Allison must be. For any What is that? First of all, you need to understand what is page LSN, right? Page LSN is the last log record causing an update to a particular page. So page LSN is associated with the page, right? Every page has a page LSN. So once you guarantee this, if you think about it, what that says is, well, fine. As long as I have this condition, the page can be dirty, meaning the page hasn't been written back to disk, and the system can crash. I can still undo the change because the log record for the update has been permanently stored on disk because of this condition. And this basically allows you to steal. This allows you to steal. This allows you to no force. Then that's how everything pieced together. That's how everything pieced together. Right? So far so good? Okay. Now the other two players that we haven't talked about is dirty page table and transaction table. Transaction table has transaction ID, last LSN, and status. Right? Running, committing, aborting. And dirty page table has page ID and previous LSN. No, previous LSN. What's the name? REC LSN. Record LSN. Okay. So what are this? This, first of all, let's explain this table, right? This basically documents all actively running transactions. Active running transactions can be one of the three kinds. One is normal, a transaction in its normal execution cycle. It hasn't committed yet, it hasn't aborted yet. So that's running. It could be, the second type of transaction that end up here is a transaction that's in the process of committing. then the last step is a transaction in the process of aborting. And you always remember the latest log record from that corresponding transaction. That's it. That's what this table is. When the transaction completes its execution cycle, either by finish the committing process or finish the aborting process, then the transaction will write an AND log record to the log, and that's when you remove the corresponding entry of that transaction from the transaction table. You follow me? For dirty page table, you keep an entry for every single dirty page in your system. Every single dirty page in your system. REC LSN is the log sequence number correspond to the very first log record causing that page to be dirty. So that's totally different from page LSN, which is the very last log record that has made an update to the page. This is the very first record that has caused the page to be dirty. So whenever you have an update operation on a page, and that page is not in dirty page table, you create a new entry for that page in dirty page table. If there is an update to a page that already exists in dirty page table, then you do nothing. Because that update, the corresponding log sequence number must be behind the current entry, the record LSN for the current entry for that page in the dirty page table. Right? So when does an entry here get removed from the dirty page table? Well, when the buffer manager decides to replace a dirty page for buffer replacement, then that dirty page will be written back to disk. That's when that entry for that dirty page will be removed from the dirty page table because it's no longer dirty. It's been written back to disk. So buffer manager is the one who will update the dirty page table from time to time. Okay? But we do not have information about that. Right? We do not log that information. So once system crash, that information is lost forever. Meaning whether buffer manager has written a dirty page to disk or not, we do not know. Of course, we do not know for a time period from the last checkpoint to the time system has crashed. Before that, you know, kind of. Why? Because you take a snapshot of these two tables at the point of checkpointing and you push them to disk. So that if a page is not in the dirty page table at the time of checkpointing process, what that means? That means buffer manager must have written the updates to that page until that point back to disk. That's why it's no longer in the dirty page table at the point of checkpointing process, at the last checkpointing process. Okay? Does that make sense? But if the page could become dirty again, when you do this analysis phase, when you play the log forward from the last checkpointing process up to time of crash, that page becomes dirty, may become dirty again, and may appear in the dirty page table. This is the time when you cannot be sure whether that page was still in the dirty page table right before crash or not, because you know that it should be in dirty page table if there is an update record on that page in this time period. However, buffer manager could have written that page back to disk right before crash. That information you do not know, you do not have. However, as I explained in last lecture, that's okay, because that only means we are not removing this page from dirty page table compared to the content of the dirty page table right before crash. That only means we have a superset of what we need to redo or undo. That's fine. We're doing actual work just to be safe. It's an efficiency impact, but it doesn't affect the correctness of the algorithm for that reason. Okay? So that pretty much summarizes a quick review of what I have discussed in last lecture. Now, let's do this together. Okay, let's do this together. Okay. So system crash from here. When is my last checkpoint? That information is stored by the master record. The master record in this case equal to 0, 0. Because that's the last checkpoint I have from this log. Okay? So I will load my dirty page table and transaction table from disk at the point of checkpointing. Remember, checkpointing is not atomic. Checkpoint is not atomic. What that means is at the begin checkpoint process, you make a copy of these two tables. In other words, you get a snapshot of these two tables at the time of begin checkpoint, you push them to disk. While you were doing that, updates may continue to occur in your database and to these two tables. So by the end of end checkpoint, the content of these two tables might have already been different from the snapshot you have taken at the begin checkpoint timestamp. So when you load them back during a crash recovery process, you are loading back the content of these two tables at the begin checkpoint timestamp, not at the end checkpoint timestamp.
So if you don't have a checkpoint yet, so does that mean you're starting your?
If you do not have a checkpoint, that means you do not have a checkpoint. Then you have to go all the way back from the beginning of the log. In this particular case, this is really an artificial example, right? So you are doing a checkpoint at the beginning of your time when your system boot up, you do a checkpoint. Typically,
There's no point,
system.
right? I mean, there's no
Typically,
point.
system, yes, there's no point. Typically, systems do not do that. But I'm just trying to illustrate the point.
So if you don't have one, you start fresh.
You start from fresh. There's nothing in these two tables. You just play the log forward. Okay? That's precisely what we're going to do here anyway. Because yes, we go back to, we load the master record. We go to the last checkpoint. We load the content of two tables. There's nothing there, obviously. And in this particular example, not only there's nothing in dirty page table and transaction table at begin checkpoint, there's nothing in these two tables by the time of end checkpoint because there's no update log record between begin and end checkpoint. So nothing really has happened in that time period while you were dumping these two tables to disk. Also good? Okay. Now let's look at, so we are now in the analysis phase, so we will play the log forward. Right? So let's do that. So the first one is update T1 by P5, what that tells you. And that's by transaction 1, right? So transaction 1, last, this is 10, status is. And what about dirty page table? P5, record item 10. Because this is the first record causing this page to be dirty. So you move forward to the next log record. You know, crash recovery, this sounds complicated, right? But if you run through the procedure, it's really not that complicated. It's quite, in our opinion, quite straightforward. I mean, at least to me, this part is easier to understand than core optimization. Because it's very procedure-based, very procedure. Once you understand the procedure, you just follow the steps. T2, 20, 20, and that's P3, that's 20. Right. And next T1 abort, you need to change this to 30. I need to change running to aborting. Then you see a CLR. What that means? What that means? Well, this CLR is caused by the fact that T1 aborted, it's not caused by the fact that you did a crash recovery procedure. It's really because T1 had gone through a normal abort procedure. That's why you see a CR. Remember, you keep logging or in other words, you keep logging, you log undos. Basically, you log the undo operations you have done through CR using compensation logger. The reason you have to do that, as I explained, is that you do have to worry about redo the undo. You do have to worry about redo the undo. Undo is an update operation, that's why you have to worry about redo the undo. You might argue, but we need to worry about redo the redo as well. Redo is an update operation. You need to redo the redo as well. But keep in mind, you can redo the redo by just reading the original update log record. There's no point of logging the redo operation you have done. Does that make sense? So that's fine. Okay, so you have a. But you may argue, wait a minute. You can redo. You can undo based on the original log record too, right? So why you need to log the undo? Well, the purpose of logging the undo is make sure you don't undo the undo. The fact that you see a CR means that you don't undo the undo. You undo the undo means you have done nothing. Right? So that's why. So CR. So undo T1 as intent. So what that means is you are undoing this particular operation, right? You are undoing this particular operation. So what you do is this become 40, nothing else change. Nothing else change. It does not change your dirty page table, by the way. Okay. And T1 and, what that means? You remove this from the dirty page, from transaction. Now, let me ask you this. Do you remove P5 from the dirty page table? Yes or no? Some of you might should disappear, right? So this page should no longer be dirty. Right? It's ended. It means that all the changes made by T1 like never happened before. So then shouldn't that imply P5 is no longer dirty, so we should remove that from dirty page table. Well, keep in mind you are using no force. You are not using forcing. If you are using the force policy, that statement will be correct, meaning that if a transaction has committed or has ended the abort process, all the changes are permanently reflected on disk. But we're not using force. We're using no force. So this could still be dirty. It's been properly undone. The change to P5, because of the CLR record here, the change to P5 might have been properly undone already, but that's only reflected in the buffer manager. Buffer manager may or may not. It's possible that by this time, buffer manager decides to do a replacement for some reason, and P5 happens to be the replacement candidate, and for that reason, P5, the undone of P5 has been written back to disk, then everything is fine. But that's just one possibility. It's well possible that buffer manager hasn't done that yet. Actually, if I zoom into this particular discussion case, right, let's really understand what's going on here. When transaction 1 first made an update to P5, what happened? You need to fetch a copy of that page to the buffer, apply the update, so P5 become dirty. Between this log record and this log record, in between these two things can happen. One, buffer manager hasn't written this dirty page back to disk yet. Then the CLR comes meaning you undo the change you have just done on P5. What that means? That means the copy of the P5 page in buffer now reflects the content of P5 before this log record, before this update operation. In other words, the copy of this page in the buffer now is equivalent to the content of this page back to disk. Because buffer manager never write this back to disk. However, buffer manager doesn't really know this. Buffer manager still view this as a dirty page. So this still needs to be written back to disk. You can do some kind of optimization here, maybe, but that also incur additional overhead. You need to do additional bookkeeping to realize, because of this, the disk has essentially the same content. So database systems decide not to do that, simply write this back to disk. Eventually, it will be written back. The second possibility is P5 is brought to buffer, got updated, become dirty, and before the CLR come back, that dirty page is written back to disk. Now you do a CLR, you try to undo the change. What happened? From the eye of the buffer manager, that's just another update operation you are trying to do. So I will bring that P5 from disk to buffer again. Now, the disk, keep in mind, the disk has the updated version of P5. And buffer has a copy of that. Apply the undo, the P5 becomes dirty again. By the time T1 ends, two things may happen. One is this dirty page is written back to disk, everything is fine. It's also possible that this has not been written back to disk. So what that means is the buffer manager now has a copy of P5 that reflects the content of P5 before this update record. However, the disk has a copy of P5 with the content after the update operation, which means you need to eventually push that dirty page in P5 back to disk to properly reflect the undo operation you have done. Do you all follow me? Okay.
So the optimization would be worth it because you don't know how long it takes, like which scenario.
Well, the optimization, if you want to carry out the optimization I mentioned earlier, you really need to do some additional bookkeeping of what buffer manager has done. You need to know when buffer manager has pushed a dirty page back to disk or not. And that information needs to be persistent and bulk in order for your optimization to work. Because if it's not persistent, like this, when system crash, you lose that information forever, then you can no longer do the optimization properly. And not only, if that happens, not only that's an optimization issue, that affects the correctness of your algorithm in the sense that you no longer know when to push back a dirty page or not, when to do undo or not. Right? So that additional bookkeeping, people decided that's too much overhead of logging the operation carried out by the buffer manager, because buffer manager is constantly doing stuff. Right? If you try to log that as well, that's in addition to the log record you are maintaining, that's a little bit too much. Okay, so by the time T1 ends, during the analysis phase, my whole argument is that we are in the analysis phase. We do not know whether P5 at this point was still in the dirty page table or not. During the normal execution of this sequence of log record, it could be that it was there, it could be that it was not there anymore. We really don't know. To be safe, you have to get it. You cannot remove that from the dirty page table. Does that make sense? Okay. Now, update T3 by P1. So this becomes 50. There's a new log, but T1 is guaranteed to be removed from the transaction table, that's for sure. Because we see the end log record. So we have T, which one is? T3, right? And that's 50. Running. And the last one, T2, writes P5. So this become 60. Question, do you update this to 60? Because T2 now is updating P5. Yes or no? No, right? Because record ISN is supposed to tell you the very first log record causing the page to be dirty, not the very last log record causing the page to be dirty. The latter, meaning the very last log record causing the page to be dirty, is recorded by page ISN. And that's stored on the page, not in dirty page table. Meaning, if you look at page 5, there is a field called page ISN, initially is 10. Now, after saying this, this will become 60. However, that's the content of this page in the buffer. The disk version of this page also has a page ISN, right? What's the value here? There are 3 possibilities. It could be 10. If during the normal execution of this log sequence, the buffer manager had written back this to disk after that first update operation. It could also be 60 if buffer manager has then taken this and written back to disk. Or it could be something before 10. Meaning that buffer manager didn't even get a chance to write this back to disk. Do you follow me? Okay, all right. So far, so good. So we have reconstructed. Now we're done with analysis. We have reconstructed dirty page table and transaction table. But keep in mind, both tables may not reflect the state of these 2 tables right before crash for different reasons. For transaction table, our reconstruction may not reflect the content of that table right before crash because of what? Because of this part. You may lose some log records. Okay? For dirty page table, our reconstruction may not reflect the content of this table right before crash for 2 reasons. One is, of course, because of this. What's the other reason? We do not know the behavior of the buffer manager. Some of this could have been written back to disk by the buffer manager before crash during the normal execution of the log table, but we do not know. However, this at least is a superset of that. We are fine. You may argue, what about this, guys? How can you guarantee durability and atomicity when you do not have this information? You do not have this information. Can someone argue for me why that's not a problem? We do not have any information about this log record, but they had happened, right? They had happened. That's why a log record has been generated. Meaning they cause quote-unquote damage to data. They cause some updates, damage to data. Why don't you do anything about it? If you don't do anything about them, how can you guarantee durability and atomicity?
May not be right, but could you argue that if the other pages that are currently dirty hadn't been updated, then why would the ones after them be updated?
Well, I think you're hitting the point, but basically it's because these 2 points. You are using Red Hat logging, remember? Yes, I'm not doing anything about these guys because I do not know anything about them during system recovery phase. However, I know for sure there's no committed transaction in this region because that would have violated this condition. So I do not have to worry about durability for that reason. What about atomicity? Well, these changes the corresponding log record, the changes caused by this log record, I know for sure they are not written back to disk yet. Right? If you do not have a page ISN, you cannot be written back to disk. And page ISN must be less than or equal to the flash ISN. So the changes here can only be reflected in the buffer and haven't been written back to disk. So I don't have to worry about atoms. I don't have to worry about undo them anyway. Okay. So that said, with this Red Hat logging, buffer manager can only write a page back to disk when you have a page ISN assigned. If you do not have a page ISN assigned, you cannot write that. Even though it's dirty, even though you want to choose that other candidate, you cannot write that back to disk. That's why we don't have to worry about these guys. Did I explain? Well, now you're going to do redo. You're going to do undo and redo, right? So let me refresh what happened. Now we're here, right? We have done the analysis phase. We need to redo and we need to undo. Right? By the way, a lot of in-memory database nowadays, they have to use Red Hat log. There's no other way getting around it. Right? In-memory database, the only difference is you no longer do dirty page written back to disk. You do not do this operation anymore. Everything is in memory, but you still have to guarantee durability and all these things through the help of log. You still need to use some form of Red Hat logging to do it. Okay. So redo. How do you do redo? Well, so we're here, right? So now we're gonna do redo. Remember, you keep logging for undo, but you never log the redos. You never log the redos, right? So let's do the redo. You start with the smallest REC LSN, so which means you start with this, meaning you go back to the log, which is here. You redo this, which is you reapply the update. By the way, this is a simplified view of the log record. The actual log record has the actual updates you have performed so that you can do the redo, right? So this is really a simplified view of the log. So you redo that, move on, you redo. By the way, doing redo, the naive solution is to redo every update log record you have encountered, including the COR log record. You redo the undo. You view COR just as an update record. So you redo the COR. That's the naive solution. You can improve the efficiency of that by what? 3 things. By this reason. Right? If you encounter an update log record but the corresponding page is no longer in the dirty page table, that means you don't have to worry about it. Or it is in the dirty page table, but record ISN is greater than LSN, the current log record you're looking at, that means it was written to disk and then became dirty once more. And at least this log record you don't have to worry about. Finally, you check this, meaning you do not know for sure it was written back to disk or not. You can bring that to the main memory buffer and you pay an I/O to read it, but at least you save an I/O to write it back. In our example, in this particular example, I didn't tell you anything about the buffer manager. So the dirty page table had everything. So the first 2 operations, optimization is not applicable at all. However, it's possible, let me use P5 as an example. It's possible that P5 was written back to disk. So the content of P5 here is 10, and this is right before system crash in the buffer. That's what it looks like. Right before system crash, that's what it looks like. But because we never logged the action by the buffer, we do not know the fact that if that was the case, right before system crash, this should not, the record ISN of this should not be 10, it should be 60. If that were written back, but we do not know that fact, right? So because this is lost forever, what you do now is during the redo phase, what you have to do is bring this to the buffer. Now you realize, oh, this was written back to this already. You don't have to apply the redo and write it back to this. You can do this optimization. That's essentially this condition right here. The LSN here in redo refers to the current log record you are trying to redo. Okay, so that's redo. Easy, right? I don't have to repeat every single log record. But you basically redo this, redo this, redo this. You do need to redo CR, redo this, redo this. That's it. And apply those three optimizations whenever possible. You're done with redo. Now you start with undo. Okay, start with undo. Which one you need to undo? Well, there are two active running transactions you need to worry about. To start with the largest ISN. There are two strategies you can possibly explore for undo, right? You can undo one transaction, then come back, undo another transaction. But this means you need to make multiple back and forth visit to the log. Right? That's expensive because that translates to random I/O all the time. A better approach would be to what? Organize all the log records from different transactions in a backward order and undo them one by one in sequence. You may argue, wait a minute, that's also random I/O. Well, remember, when you visit one log record from another, it doesn't mean you need to incur a I/O. It could be that if they're fairly close, they are in the same page because you're doing page I/Os. You're not doing record by record. You're not reading record by record. You're reading page by page. All of this could be in a single page, or could be in 2 pages. Imagine they're in 2 pages. One page, another page. So if you undo one transaction followed by another, what you're doing? 2 I/Os, then another 2 I/Os. If you're doing undo by the backward order of all the log records from different transactions, what you're doing? Only 2 I/Os. Does that make sense? Right? That's why you do that. So what that means is you maintain a linked list called, an ordered linked list called to undo list. So initially this list will have all the entries in the transaction table, meaning that's your initial to undo list. Then this is kind of like a cube, right? You always pop the largest one out of the cube. You always remove the head of the cube. It's a sorted order list. So you remove this one, you remove this one. So this is the next one to undo. So you undo that. When you undo, what you need to do? You need to continue. You need to continue logging. And that's why you see this CLR log record. Do you follow me? That's because you are undoing this operation. And that's why you see this CLR. Why? Because that's the next to undo list. By the way, when you remove one from the to undo list, you also add one back, which is you add the previous LSN of this log record back to the to undo list, which is the previous LSN for log record sequence 60. That's transaction T2. So the previous LSN for this must be 20. It was the last log record from the same transaction. So the to undo list now become 20. You follow me? So the next to undo is 50. Remove that. But when you remove 50, you need to add the previous LCN of that back to the to undo list, which is no previous LCN. Right? That's the last block record from T3. So you don't add anything back. And that's the reason why you see T3 end. You see this CR because you are undoing that log sequence number 50, but previous LCN is now. That means there's nothing else to undo for this transaction. That's why it's end. And these are two log records. Last lecture I mentioned the fact that this is similar to the movie called Inception. Here is why. Have you finished the undo process yet? Not yet, because there's stuff still left in the to undo list, that log sequence number 20. But system may crash again. And this happens, right? So you may have a really reliable system that never crashed, but once it starts crash, once you see it crash once, you will see it crash twice. Right? This is happening in real life, right? You have a real I'm not going to use my car example because sometimes when you see something, something will happen. Right? Somebody's car is really reliable, have no problem, and start having problem. You fix that, well, you know what? Then problems start surfacing one after another. And that's not my car, somebody else's car. Okay. And not my wife's car either, because I have to take care of that too. So, all right.
Could be a coincidence, but it's not really. I mean, it's near a certain point.
You know, it's really weird. I mean, you know what? Sometimes, you know, when you don't think about something, that never happens. But once you start thinking about it, oh, what if that happened? You know, that will happen next few days. You know, so, happened occurred to me a couple times. So that's kind of like Inception, right? So you are, the reason why it's similar to Inception is because you are in a level of dream, but then you are in the dream of dream. So to realize you are in a dream is not good enough, right? In that movie, they have some device that can help you figure out whether you are in a dream or not. But even if you realize that, it doesn't mean you are out of that dream because it could be a cascading effect, right? So system crash again, but you know what? Don't worry. You come back on, you do the analysis again, and you redo, and you undo. The difference now is when you do this analysis now, this will no longer be there because you see the end logger. In the second time you come back to do analysis, you see the CR, you see the end. What that tells you? That tells you you were in a crash recovery procedure and you finished taking care of T3. So that's kind of our device of helping you figure out whether you are in a dream or not. If I may make a comparison to the movie Inception. Do you follow me? But you still need to redo all the things. Why? Because all the redo you have done in the last crash recovery process, there is no guarantee that those redos have been permanently reflected back to disk. By the time of this crash, all the redos you have done may or may not be reflected back to disk. You do not know that information because we do not log the behavior of the buffer manager. So what you have to do is to redo all the things. But this shows you the point I made earlier. You don't have to log redo. There's no point of logging redo because you can redo as many times as you want just based on the Arduino update logger or the Arduino CR. There's no point of logging the fact that you have done a redo. Does that make sense? All right. I think that's it. Any other questions? Yeah.
You mentioned a lot that like you don't know what the existing status of like the buffer manager would be. Is it so expensive to keep like a little bit? Is there something that would contain that information? Like maybe in our example, it's like our buffer manager has always been pretty small, but like big databases and so large that it's unfeasible to keep like that data.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, in a lot of in-memory database systems I see nowadays, they do this kind of optimizations. people do start exploring, what if I do know some information about the buffer manager, maybe I can do better. Yes, it's system, right? It's always a trade-off. Like, go back to, now I'm ready to revisit the statement I made to you guys at the beginning of the semester. Back then, you guys probably cannot appreciate that as much as now. What is system? System is not about writing code. System is not a collection of complex code. System is really about efficient and safe use of limited resources. If you choose to log buffer activity as you have suggested, yes, you are using valuable resources to do that. In return, you may potentially get better performance during crash recovery procedure. That works well if you see crash recovery a lot. But if your system never crash or rarely crash, is it worth it doing that for the potential saving of one crash recovery out of every half year or 1 year? Does that make sense now?
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm just curious, does the database automatically recycle old logs?
Fantastic question. Yes, typically, definitely they do that. What they do is, this is called, there's a terminology for it. It's not recycle, the word to use is I'll chop the log. Log, if you think about the logging business, you chop the tree, right? So you chop the log, it's the same thing. So when log becomes too big, what happened is that you truncate or chop the old log, to certain point, whatever you set up a threshold, right? If it's 2 days or 3 days ahead, or you don't use time, you use amount of activities occur so far. And what you typically do is you move those to an outdated log. The way that you do that is, the observation is that it's basically indicated by this, right? If you can, from time to time, to do this analysis, imagine you were to do a crash recovery, even though you do not have crash recovery. You figure out, okay, if my system crashed now, what is the furthest history I need to keep around to do this? Whatever beyond that, you can safely remove them without worrying about not being able to recover from crash. But typically, real systems never really delete any log. What they do is they basically move those logs into another node, another disk, to save space on your active running node. Does that make sense? Not people do. That's called truncated log or chop log. Any other question you may have? Okay, I think with this, you guys know relational database inside out, pretty much. Right? Of course, there are other topics that I do not cover in this class, such as parallel and distributed database systems. So far, we've been talking about mostly about a single node setup, right? A single node. What if you have multiple nodes? Data could be coming from multiple different places, or data could be written back to different nodes. I will talk about that a little bit in the following lecture, but as far as the final exam is concerned, we're done to this point. Okay? All right. And in your homework on transactions, in some setup, I do tell you the behavior of the buffer manager. Then you need to take that into consideration. Right? When I tell you, for example, of this page, somehow we know that this page has been written back to disk by buffer manager. What that tells you is that shouldn't be in 30-page table if there is a checkpointing process occurred after that. Make sense? All right. So now let's go to Dropbox to get the slides. Why don't we start with data warehouse and cluster database systems. Now, I just talked about we are limited to a single node. Now I'm going to expand this to a cluster of nodes, distributed parallel database systems. Okay. So there are 70 slides here. Obviously, I don't have time to go over all of it. So I will do a quick overview, but I will post the slides on the course website. So if you're interested, you can download a copy and read through this yourself. Okay. So I'm going to talk about data warehouse, MapReduce, and Spark. These are, if you work in the big data space, these are the buzzword nowadays, right? MapReduce, Spark. If you haven't heard either MapReduce or Spark, you are like an age man, I think. You come from, like, I don't know, you're out of date for sure, right? So these are really the buzzword nowadays. So let's talk about this, right? But before that, I'm going to talk about data warehouse first, because that's really the motivation for people to go out and build systems like MapReduce and Spark. So there are two types of workloads in database systems. There are OLTP, online transaction processing. This is pretty much what we have just talked about. And over there, the objective is very simple. You want to improve TPS. TPS stands for transaction per second. In other words, this is measurement for the metric for the throughput of your system. The more transactions you can handle per second, obviously that's better. Why that's better? Because think about Cyber Monday, right? There's a hot deal going on Amazon.com. Everybody try to place some order on Amazon.com. Every single order over there translates to a transaction to the backend database. Seriously, that's exactly what happens. Because if you think about customer making an order on Amazon.com, you need to ensure consistency, right? And durability. If I place my order, better be durable. If in the process of placing my order, something goes bad, that you have this situation, you click buy, then the circle runs, and either it finishes or if it fails, you better tell me. If I have 10 items in my shopping cart, don't tell me you charge me for 3 of this and 7 haven't been charged yet. Right? It's better none of them have happened. Transaction, right? So Cyber Monday, everybody goes to Amazon.com, place an order, and each order has multiple items. That's translated to multiple update operation per transaction, right? The way I view it. Of course, over there, I cannot take the abstract view of just the way I write. I do care about what surprise I write, or my wife writes. Right? But that's, and at the end of the day, I have to pay for that. But from a database point of view, I don't really care whether you buy an item at $100 or $1 million. At the end of the day, it's just a right operation. And that's encapsulated by a transaction. So the objective is really to improve transaction per second. Why? Because the more transaction you can enable, more money Amazon can make. Amazon, trust me, the CEO, he doesn't care, or she doesn't care, I don't know whether he or she, TPS at all. The only thing he or she cares is the profit it can bring for him or her. The only reason they care TPS is because the more transactions you can handle, the more orders go through, the more money they can make. So another workload, type of workload in database system is called OLAP, Online Analytical Processing. I demonstrate that to you. You need to be able to support efficient core processing. That's the whole purpose of the gift card I gave out earlier today. Right, that's OLAP. You are doing some analytics. You want to be able to return the results as quickly as you can, right? So imagine you are generating a business report, or tell me the sales data for last week in Asia Pacific region for this particular sector, for customer in this range who also have done that. Your manager coming Monday morning, asks you to do that. You say, wait a minute, let me show you. I can do this in a SQL statement. You read a really impressive SQL statement, but guess what? The manager doesn't care. He or she only cares how soon you can get results back to him or her. If you can do it in 10 seconds, fantastic. If you have to do this in 2 hours, it's not going to be an impressive time. So, 2 types of workload. So this here is an example of OLAP workload. So I'm gonna focus on the OLAP side because the TP part we have just done a detailed discussion on that. So I'm gonna focus on OLAP part for now. If you look at a query like this, I think during the query evaluation lectures, I did a demo to you, the system we built, where they allow you to show approximation over time, the error strength over time. And back then, I show you this particular, I run this particular query. And it takes forever for the existing system to run this, right? It takes forever for the existing system to run this. In our particular case, using 10 gigabytes of data, this particular query will take about 5 minutes to run, 300 some seconds. Not terrible, but imagine if you scale that to 100 gigabytes of data, that's really bad. Right? You have to wait for that much time. Nobody can afford waiting that much time every single time you run a query, right? So for this reason, people have designed this thing called data cube, which is the foundation for a data warehouse. And what's a data cube? Data cube uses this simple concept called prefix sum, which I'm going to illustrate to you right now. So if you ever use SAP or Oracle database, Oracle data warehouse, or any data warehouse product, you probably have seen this keyword called cube, build a cube, or design a cube. What exactly does it mean, right? That's what I'm going to tell you next. The data cube is nothing else but a collection of prefix sum arrays. I'm going to demonstrate this using one-dimensional data first. Okay? Let's assume I'm going to look at this is age value. Okay, let's see. And this is this y-axis. Y-axis represent, let's say, I don't want to use income all the time, like that make me appear like money driven all the time. So give me another example. Like that's other than money or income. Okay, how many cars you have? Okay, how many cars? Okay. Okay. I'm not saying these are fancy cars. Let's say like there was this program by the federal government, Catch for Clunk, right? Back in 2008, Catch for Clunk. How many clunks you have, right? So that you can trade in for money. Come back to okay, fine. Let's okay, how many cars you have? Okay, by age distribution, right? So what do you expect that curve to be? Well, when you're young, you may have many clunk cars, right? But by the time you're in 30, 40, you're in the prime of your career, you don't have many clown cars, but by the time you're old, you spend all your money, then you go back to the clown cars, right? So I expect the distribution to be something like this. Of course, I could be wrong. But fine, the federal government want to do an estimation, say, okay, if we want to carry out this program, we better know, let's say I want to put an age limit. So the federal government want to sound nice. Okay, you can do catch for clock, but only if you're in certain age range. and they want to minimize their cost. So they want to do some queries, right? What's the total for any age limit, age 1 to age 2? Right? I want to know this value. I want to run several queries, right? Age 1, age 2. So how would you do this in a database setting? Well, that's easy, right? You find that age 1, age 2, you look up these values, you sum, right? But imagine this domain is huge, and there are many, many values here. Then every time you change these two values, you need to pay linear cost, linear to the size of this range, to calculate this value, right? So is the cost of this query is linear to where n is about this. Right? For age, this might not be too bad, but imagine it's with some other domain that's huge, and this can be really expensive, right? So people say, can we do this better? Suppose this takes, I don't know, like minutes to do, depending on the value, n could be hours or minutes, right? Can I get constant time response? Can we go from here to constant, like seconds, less than a second? How do you do that? How would you do that? One naive solution, is you look at the domain of, let's say the domain of this value is A, and you say the domain size is n, capital N, not small. And assuming, for the simplicity of this discussion, we assume discrete domains. Given n values in a discrete domain, how many possible range you can have? How many possible range? That's roughly n squared, right? Why? Because for the first value in the domain, it defines n minus 1 ranges. For the second value in the domain, you don't go back, but that's already defined by the first one. You have n minus 2 domains. N minus 2 range, possible ranges. And this. For everyone coming after you, you define a range. So on and so forth until the last one. So you sum up this. This is roughly. So you big O notation, that's n squared. So one solution is you look at all the possible range. For each range, all the n squared range, you pre-calculate the value that you're gonna report. In this case, the sum. Right? Now, once you have this, it becomes a hash table thing, right? This becomes a hash table thing. We can do this query. No matter what query you ask, I can do this in O1 time. But what's the downside of this approach? This hash table size is n squared. This is huge. You cannot afford to do that all the time, right? When n is big. So what do you do? Can you find a linear space solution to do this? Well, the answer is you can. The way you do this is you use something called prefix sum. So the way you do this is you turn this curve into, pay attention to this. I'm going to override for like 2 minutes. I don't want to finish this. The first one, the value stays this. For the second one, you add that up. So it becomes this. The third one, you keep adding up. Okay? So kind of low. Once you have done that, given any two range, like A1 to A2, what do you do? You use the value at A2 minus value at A1. That gives you sum in the range. And the cost of this now become linear, and the construction cost is also linear, because you sort them, you add up. And that's for one dimension. What about multiple dimensions? For 2 dimensions, it becomes a cell. This represents the perfect sum up to this point and up to this point. Essentially, you cannot see, but there are numbers here. White color, the projector is not very good. There are numbers here. So, for example, this could be the year. This could be the region. This could be the marketing sector. These are, I guess, in Germans, right? They are German words. Okay. And then it tells you, now you can ask questions like, what are the sales for this region across all marketing sectors between 2004 and 2005. Now it becomes very simple query. You just do several lookup and do subtraction. You can figure out this value in constant time. That's called data cube. But one challenge for data cube though is that if each dimension has n values, in 2 dimensions this becomes n squared. In 3 dimensions this becomes n cubed. Right? So space costs become the issue when you have multiple dimensions. Secondly, you need to know what dimension to be defined for a cube. In other words, you need to know what kind of workloads you expect to serve to define a cube. If I ask a question that's not on region, let's say on something else like year, marketing sector, and age is not one of your dimensions, then this becomes useless to you. So it's tied with your workload. Does that make sense? So that's the downside of data warehouse. Before I let you go, I have some examples here. And this is a multi-billion-dollar business sector you are looking at called ETL. Extraction, transform. And you basically are building a load. You're building load means loading a cube, loading a data warehouse. This is your raw data in database. You define the dimensions. Then you, with the dimension defined, you build this cube and you maintain them in a data warehouse setting. And then that brings up the challenge of what if you have updates to the raw data, how do you reflect those updates back to the cube? And what if you query workload as the data warehouse site change, how do you define new dimension? That defines a lot of challenges, and that's a multi-billion-dollar business called ETL, extraction, transform, and load. And with that, I stop right here. I will continue on Thursday, but it's a multi-billion-dollar business, but the basic concept behind it is very simple. It's basically what I have said. Okay. But I will continue on Thursday.
这是 lab 吗？
对 left side 的 transaction
schedule 吗？方面上，那我再看一下。看一下。
So was the streaming working today?
Yeah, streaming working.
Do you have to create the event or that is not required anymore?
You still need to create an
Event, okay.
just like in the old way.
Okay, sure.